Okay, so as people might have guessed from last time, because I directly said it, we're going to be playing Dark Souls 2. And we're starting out fresh on Dark Souls 2 here. Although you're not going to see me do any character creation or anything. Before actually posting any boss fights, I just wanted to kind of talk about Dark Souls 2 a little bit. Kind of the black sheep of the Souls franchise. Because, it wasn't directed by Miyazaki. He was just a producer on it, so he did not have near the input that he had on Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 and 3, and of course, Bloodborne. But nonetheless, he was involved, and this is a weird black sheep of the series. It does a lot of things very differently than the other games. For example, this has a very overt way to tell you to stop grinding. In the first Dark Souls, in any given area, you could farm 10 fluid humanity before fighting the boss. And when you got to that 10 mark, it was sort of a hint that maybe you've done enough grinding. Now, in this game here, you have a very much harder wall put up to stop you grinding, because in any given area, you can only kill any given enemy X number of times before it simply stops spawning. Now, there are enemies you only get to kill once, like bosses and a few other things that are out in the world, but most things, I think you can kill them like 10 or 12 times. And it's not like things stop spawning in a group unless it's things you killed in a group. So you could, hypothetically, if you were really bad at the game, you could get up from the bonfire, kill the enemy nearest to the bonfire, go back, repeat, until he stops spawning. Now, he's not spawning anymore, so you go a little further to the next enemy and repeat the process. Now, that would be a very boring, time-consuming way to play the game, but hypothetically, you could do that. Because once the enemy stops spawning, that's it. There ain't no more farming souls. Now, later in the game, you could actually use this to your advantage, because, as the game gets harder, enemies hit harder. You could just intentionally make things stop spawning. I would not recommend that. I think that kills some of the challenge of the game. Although I do recommend emptying out the first few zones, because you start off pretty weak regardless of the class you choose. So you might as well do your grinding early, because, like, for example, here in the Forest of Giants, if you empty it out completely, by the time you're done, you'll be at, like, soul level 50, give or take. And you'll be very well equipped to take the next few zones with not having to really do any grinding whatsoever. But it's all a matter of taste. I recommended doing the thing with the 10 fluid humanity in the first few zones of the original Dark Souls, because, hey, get a bunch of humanity early. Better to get it early than to get it later. The early zones are going to be a lot easier to grind in than the later zones, for the most part. Yeah. This video here might not be the most interesting. It's just me kind of going through and doing a little grinding. I actually think, this is my first foray into this part of the area, as you can see from that fog gate. And do some interesting things. I actually, in this playthrough, beat the Pursuer that's up on the top here, but I didn't get footage of it. And I'm still kicking myself for that. But hey, mistakes get made. Now, as you can see, I'm playing a caster build this time, as I did in my initially in my Dark Souls 3 run. I just like having the caster build early on when you're weak, because you can kind of just kite things around and not have to go head on, because, like, those Turtle Knights right there, if you're a melee character, are much harder. But if you're a caster, like I decided to do, they're very easy. I'm actually not sure if those are backstabbable enemies, because I've never successfully backstabbed one of those Turtle Knights. Then there's this guy who oftentimes drops something, but you can't go up and get it because the pursuer will attack you up on that ridge. And at this point in the game, I was not ready for any of that. Now, you can see here, if you look down at my items, that I went and got the little hidden sword in the valley area, which is sort of like the sword you can get if you have the Master Key in Dark Souls 1. It's similarly a flaming faith-scaling sword, which as a caster, the faith scaling's not great, but it's still better than just about any other weapon you can get at this point in the game. So, and as you see me playing this game, you're going to notice I kept using that throughout basically the whole game. Is it laziness? Maybe. Is it apathy? Well, it's me, so yes, apathy definitely played a role. But, we're coming up on the end here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. Next week we'll have an actual proper boss fight.